Welcome back. So this is another demonstration of Rekall, the AI coding assistant, and this time I thought I would look into creating a bit more complex game. So I found a website which lists some popular games from the 70s and 80s, 4250, and they have some nice screenshots of some of these old games. I remember playing some of these on my old 8-bit console. So let's have a look around here and see what we can maybe try to do today in Rekall. Pole position, Super Mario of course, Galaxian, interesting, Frogger, Space Invaders, Burger Time, never heard of that one. Asteroids, might be interesting. Pac-Man. Donkey Kong. This sounds nice. Donkey Kong. I'm thinking of doing Donkey Kong. Let's Donkey Kong. Let's try to search for the official description. Maybe on Wikipedia. Let's search for Donkey Kong gameplay description. Original Donkey Kong gameplay description. Let's copy all of this. Let's copy this and let's try to give it to Rekall and see what we get. Right, I'm going to say, please create a Donkey Kong game. I think for this game I'm going to use HTML5 and CSS and JavaScript again, using HTML5 and JavaScript and CSS. Here is the description of the original Donkey Kong. Try to make the game close to the original in terms of gameplay. I'm just going to say that should be fine. I'm just going to paste. Let's see what happens. me maximize this so that we can see better. So it's created quite the task list with 15 items. This is still in architect mode, so it's planning the game now. It looks like it is detailing all 4 stages. Perhaps I should have told it to just create one stage just to demonstrate, but this is fine. Let's see if it can manage to create a stage system with its multiple stages or levels. I'm curious to see if it will choose to use a 2D physics engine like Phaser or Box 2D perhaps. Let's see what it does when it creates the architectural design document. This is obviously a bit of a bigger task than the previous one, which was just the Knight Rider lights, the kit lights. So creating this whole implementation will take a little longer, but I do want to show the whole process happening, so I'm not going to cut anything out. I want to give you a really good idea of how Rekall implements a software like this and how long it takes, the whole process basically. You are welcome to skip ahead if you do not want to see everything live. But it has created the architectural document for us. Architecture Donkey Kong. Let's see what it says and if it mentions maybe a physics engine or not. Let's see what it wants to do. Thinking about doing some sounds. Sprites versus primitive rendering. I was wondering about this. Probably will not be able to find sprites on its own. It might go with primitive rendering, and then we can replace that with sprites later. It is mentioning a physics engine and a collision system there, which is perfect. State machine looks good. Collision detection system. Discussing the different levels. Modeling some of the objects like the barrels. Input handling. It sounds good to me. I'm going to approve the plan and let it do its thing. Index.html created. It has created a separate style.css file. which I would expect from a bigger project like this one. Previously it created the CSS inside of the index file. So for a bigger project like this, it is more appropriate to separate it out. There it's doing the JavaScript also in separate files, which is perfect. It is interesting that it created a vector.js file. I'm not sure if it's going to implement its own physics engine, because it created a vector class. Let's see what it does. There are physics libraries available for JavaScript, which I thought it would use, but let's see what it does. Vector might simply be used to maybe set the positions of objects or something. There it's creating a physics.js file. I'm curious, let's go and look at that quickly. Engine physics. Let's open this quickly. Physics engine. Very interesting. It is implementing its own physics engine. Very, very interesting. Let's see if it sticks with this idea or if it maybe decides on using a library later. Either way is fine, as long as it works. You can see it is following a very nice pattern of having subfolders for the different types of source files, and then having the source files in those folders. There's a folder for engine, there's a folder for entities, and so on. It is definitely creating the types of objects that make sense for a Donkey Kong game. The hammer is a tool that is in the real original Donkey Kong. Pauline, I believe, is the girlfriend. Let's see how it's representing the levels. Stage 1. Interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how it renders this. When we get to playing the actual game. I'm really curious to see this in action. This is such a big project, it may need to do some tweaks after the initial creation of all of the files. But let's see. Working on index.html. Here is something I'd like to mention. So you'll see there's an attempt completion call here. Rekall will check that it can only complete the task if it's a web page after the page has actually been validated to not have any problems. So there is a validation call, validate web page, which needs to be called. So this ensures that after doing the work, the Rekall will actually check that it actually works as much as it can. This is something that's very irritating, to be quite honest, with most existing systems like this coding assistants, where they would write a lot of code and then say they are done, and then if you try to run it you get errors. So this mechanism helps get around that problem by requiring that Rekall can only say it's done once it has done at least some level of validation. This doesn't always catch everything, but it does help make sure that the work really is done. Okay, let's quickly have a look at what we can see now. I'm going to try and open this. That looks amazing already. Press enter to start. Stage 1, get ready. Wow, that looks amazing. My character movement is not working. He seems to be falling through the floors, flying in this direction. Let's see if we can. There's no errors in the console. This looks really great, except for my character has an issue, so I'm going to close this and just tell Rekall about the problem. So the game looks great, but the playable character seems to be moving extremely rapidly, almost as if it is falling. It is not standing still at level start. Yeah, let's just say that and see if it understands the problem, if it finds it. So it's investigating the problem now. did edit the platform.js file. Let's give it another try. Oh, that's perfect, it fixed it. So there's a barrel there. The barrels are rolling, but they're not falling off from the... Whoa, there's a barrel hitting me there. Ah, I can climb the... I can somewhat climb the... Okay, so there's some problems there. It is detecting a game over. So let's just tell it barrels are spawning at the gorilla, but they are not falling off from his platform. Also, there is a problem with climbing up the ladders. Let's just say that it should be able to figure out what the problems are. Okay, so it's decided to edit some files, player as well as the barrel. It's checking the files that it edited. We can probably give it another try in a minute or so. Let's just see what it says. Alright, let's give it another go. Aha, it's still floating up there. The barrels are working now. They are rolling and falling off. So that's brilliant. It's actually falling off from the platform and rolling. Not really rolling in the right direction, but that's alright. That's not a big problem. Big problem is if I climb. It's not quite working. Oops, got hit by a barrel there. It's not working. It's climbing and climbing and climbing. So let's say that if I climb up a ladder, my character keeps going, flying up through the air and through the whole level, instead of stopping at the top of the ladder. Also, sometimes actually that's good enough. I think the fact that it gets stuck at the top is maybe because the way I was pressing the keys. I'll try it differently now and test when it's done doing this fix. Then hopefully after this fix it's the final fix, and it should work. I'm really impressed that it actually wrote its own physics engine and it's using that, and it actually works. Okay, let's try it again. I love this main screen, it's amazing. Even the old arcade styling is there. Okay, so it is getting stuck at the top there, but it's not doing the flying off into space thing anymore, which is good. It's just getting stuck now. Okay, so one more fix, I believe. My player character is getting stuck when it is near the top of the ladder. It seems to be blocked by the what did it call it? It called it the platform above, at the top of the ladder. New task created. Fix player getting stuck near the top. Check platform collision. Sounds good. Reading the collision source code, player source code. When this is done with this fixed, I'm going to ask it one more question just to make it a little bit more immersive, and then we'll give it a try. but to be honest, it's looking much better than I even thought it would look. I thought we would see placeholder graphics essentially, but it's actually drawing the ladders and the platforms and the Donkey Kong and everything. It's really good. Okay, I think it's essentially done. I'm going to type my next request. Can you please make the gameplay screen play the Donkey Kong tune? Let's see if it can do that. Just wait for this to see. It's still busy editing, working, trying to fix the platform collision issue. Okay, the fix has been applied. Let's ask it to add a bit of music for us. Let's see if it can even generate the Donkey Kong tune. Add background music to play, so it's asking for some clarification. If you go with auto enhance, it will take your prompt and write it in a bit more detail. So in this case, add background music to the gameplay screen, create a synthesized approximation of the Donkey Kong theme using Web Audio API. Yeah, as you see, it's adding all of the details it needs to complete this, the technical details of the task to complete it. So this is a nice feature of Rekall as well, where if it doesn't quite know what you want, it can either ask you for clarification. This prompt also allows you to add more clarification on your own, but it will, when it's pretty sure it knows what you want, it can auto enhance the prompt and just give itself all of the details, like here. And there's also another mechanism where it can actually actively ask you questions, but this auto enhance prompt was good enough in this case. So let's see what it does. It's creating a audio.js file. Would be very interesting to hear if it plays something, number one, and number two, if it actually reminds us of Donkey Kong. Let's see. I wonder how it does the audio. Let me open up that file quickly and have a look. Audio manager, window.audio context, WebKit audio context. I've never used this. Create oscillator, create gain. Very interesting. Huh. Alright, it says the background music feature has been successfully implemented. Let's see. I'll be the judge of that. Right. very interesting. My enter key doesn't work. Ah, there is an uncaught exception. Let's paste this in. It may not be the audio that it's trying to include is not properly initialized or something. Oh, ladder is not defined. Interesting. Illegal return statement. So yeah, it should be able to find and fix this quite easily. I think it's almost done. There we go. Let's give it another go. Aha, something happened. There's a bug there when I pressed on the up to climb. So also I hear no music. So yes, as you know, sometimes a bit more complicated applications do require a few iterations of telling the system that things is not working exactly like they should, and Rekall is no different. It does tend to produce less issues than most other systems, but yeah, I'm not going to cut any of this out or anything like that. I want to actually show exactly what you do get, and also its ability to fix the issues that it does create when generating source code. I suppose one could always ask it to create playwright tests or something for the game and then to test everything itself, but in this case I've not done that. Let's give it a try. Aha, I hear music. There we go, it's working. We can climb. So can we grab a hammer? Ooh, jump, jump. There we go. Jump, jump. game. There you go. That was Rekall creating Donkey Kong with, surprisingly, its own physics engine, with music and a couple of initial bugs that it managed to sort out. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this second demo of a bit more involved and complicated game. Next time I think I will be doing something more enterprise business level, something that you might encounter in a normal working environment as a software developer. So looking forward to showing you that, but for now, thanks for watching and see you later.